it was never a desire to create something beautiful or aesthetic. It was a need to make sense of the ugly. So my way of processing that was to create those artworks to make sense of that ugly nature and surrounding, and then destroy them when done. I moved here after Beirut's port explosion in 2020. So 2 years later, I came here, and now I'm kind of announcing my arrival through the OSA residency.
Hello, and welcome to the OSA Fine Arts Diploma podcast, recording at the Ottawa School of Art. We are recording in the basement of the school while classes are happening upstairs. It may seem like the perfect place to have a conversation about what is art and our experience as practicing artists. So, my name is Adrian Gore. I am the diploma coordinator of the Fine Arts Diploma program at Ottawa School of Art. Today, I'm joined by OSA Artist in Residence, Gaby El Ashkar. We will be discussing his artistic practice, current projects, and his experience working in the residence program at the Ottawa School of Art. Thank you for joining me today, Gaby.
Thank you for having me, Adrian.
To begin, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little about your artistic practice?
I'm a multidisciplinary artist, communicating primarily through sculpture. And mainly my art amplifies my critical views of today's social, political, and cultural issues. And it is kind of defiant by nature, and an invitation to challenge preconceived notions and impose narratives. All that alongside a much calmer and docile continuous reflection on the human condition in general through chronic observation of state of being, through trials and adversity, complacency and rebellion, and the shaping of individual and collective memories and the notorious quest of purpose. So I try to convey these ideas through a variety of mediums like clay, bronze, mixed media, charcoal, and all within a sort of eclectic approach that rejects boxes and labels. So I create throughout this spectrum from conceptual to figurative, and most often bridging both. However, as far as material goes, clay remains my favorite dialogue partner, and that goes back to the how and why I do this in the first place.
How did you first become interested in making art?
Yeah.
And I guess this will answer your passion for these materials that you
Of
described.
course, yeah. So I didn't choose art at a later stage as a career option or something that I came to know through the regular path of an artist. Um, I art was for me a sole refuge, if you want. Growing up in Lebanon's turbulent 80s in the midst of a civil war on the front lines, and in circumstances that there was no other way to comprehend or process what's all the chaos that was taking place around. So as a kid, my first attempts were to create an alternative reality or ways to change how things are happening around me. And later it developed, while I experimented in more materials, it developed into a way to actually process and think and assimilate all what tormented me back then. And for that, and for the most part of my life, I created those vessels, and within them, I like entrap those thoughts and torments, and just the time to assimilate them. And this is why clay was the perfect dialogue partner, because I can go.
You
back
started
and
to
visit.
make vessels first out of clay?
No,
or it's metaphorical?
metaphorical vessels where I contain those ideas. So artworks, but it's that dialogue that that I needed. It was intimate, it was private, it was like a diary, and my sole way to cope with whatever was happening and try to understand, and a sane outlet comparing to whatever was happening as that was not sane at all around me. So for the most part of my life, it was a private, silent practice that wasn't meant to be shared, and I was against that concept because it was very personal. And this is why what I create today, it's never with the intention to showcase. It's because I need it. I need to
Okay, so
create it.
reading your artist statements, I did see that you are inspired by personal, from a very subjective perspective. You approach image making or your projects as a way to, could you say, as a form of therapy?
Yeah, this is how it all started. It's what was the way to stay sane. First memories were um, attempts to. I was a big fan of anime series called Grandizer back then.
Hmm.
So as a kid, 4 years old, 5 years old, um, I was always with my pencils and papers and always perfecting the way I draw characters. So eventually I could draw that episode or that event where this mechanical robot out of space that defends Earth from all that is evil. Perhaps I can write a reality where it puts an end to the chaos around me. That was the first motivation.
But the kind of chaos you are talking about, I think it's not the usual chaos that, let's say, everybody in Canada would experience, right?
It's a very particular kind of chaos.
Like it's connected to the political context in which you live, social environment in Lebanon.
Exactly.
You said something violent happened in the 80s.
It's the Civil War and
Yeah.
a couple of occupations, and it's with all the consequences of that, economical. It's not a regular kind of life. So
Right.
between shelters and um, like surviving projectiles, which is like a personal experience, and it's also about a different way to look at loss when you go to school and day after day some of your classmates are missing, then family is missing, and you don't have that social support. It was chaotic. People are
Right.
trying to survive. So there are different ways to live with that, and not all of them are sane. For me, art was that safe place where I can create my own reality in that bubble. And later on, became it turned from coping and survival to a defiant form that led me later on to stop this silent kind of thing, this silent practice, and make it loud and start sharing when I came to a point with like an overlap of personal circumstances and the political environment back in Lebanon, where I needed to speak out against a corrupt government class. So this practice needed to be allowed and shared. And
Have
this
you
is
been
why,
to art school in Lebanon
uh,
before coming to Canada?
yeah, I went to the Faculty of Fine Arts in Lebanese University, um, and but my degree was in interior architecture and decorative arts, and it it wasn't it was a choice to be able to get that foundation in arts because you have the whole curriculum of that you usually take in fine art within that 5 year degree. So history of art, aesthetics, sculpture, all kind of subjects are included. But especially back then, when you're in that kind of surrounding and that kind of environment, you don't have like the support system or the culturally aware environment where an artist is supported. So you'd go to arts if you don't need to work because there are no grant system, there are no commission system, it's not existing. So that was like the middle ground to get my artistic academic foundations to sharpen what I've been doing before while having a parallel career where I can still fuel my art practice.
Looking at your sculptures in the sculpture room during the residency program here at Ottawa School of Art, I see that your work has a strong abstract component to it. So you are fusing, I see, figuration with abstraction.
Yeah, this is, I have a particular affinity to this. Again, as I was saying, I reject kind of the labeling that's happening today between it's either you do this or that. We live in a world where nuances are missing. So in everything, in social norms and political norms, in art, it's you have to be in a camp and just stick to it to have a label. For me, it's whatever I feel like I need to express myself, and this is the right way. So I do, and I've done before, complete showcases within minimal conceptual art. I do figurative, but my favorite thing that I feel that connects my message to people more is when these are bridged, when there are figurative and abstract element within the same artwork.
So this is at the formal level. Now I'm curious to know more about if there are particular themes or ideas that appear throughout your work.
So yeah, so I was mentioning that the moment where I stopped destroying whatever I did or hiding whatever I did, it was mainly to speak out. So there's again in a defiant way, and it was mainly against corruption. So it's about pointing out those alternative realities that were imposed to make people think that they live in the new normal, which the new normal is not the actual reality that they're supposed to be living in. So it's mainly about speaking out about corruption, about even currently in our society, about kind of stepping up from tolerating mediocrity to celebrating mediocrity, and it goes also in the art world. And generally about people and how they react in those situations. Because as artists, as you know, we are, if anything, we are keen observers. And when you are observing everything that's happening around, and you see people how they react individually based on their background, based on their individual character, how they react to adversity and to conflict, to change, to transition. It's fascinating. And so those two parallel lines where one side is defiant and challenging and the other is calm and observing, these are the two.
So in terms of themes, in terms of ideas, I understand that you systematically disrupt works of art, disposing them both of content and containers, I mean form.
Till my mid-30s, and I was still in Lebanon. And that process that I described from childhood going forward, again, that it was never a desire to create something beautiful or aesthetic. It was a need to make sense of the ugly. So my way of processing that was to create those artworks, to make sense of that ugly nature and surrounding, and then destroy them when done. And that system continued till my mid-30s. And this is why there's no track record of before that. After this, when circumstances happened and that I couldn't keep that practice silent, because while in Lebanon, I needed to speak out against the corrupt system, I had to stop destroying things, and I started sharing. And for many years before coming to Canada, I was sharing what I've done. And because I'm just pointing out the particular way or the particular path that I took. It wasn't a regular kind of path. And for most of my life, what I created was for my eyes only. And later on, it became something I shared because I wanted to. It was a shout. I wanted to speak out against specific things that I couldn't do anymore whilst
I
being in
understand.
silent
So
practice.
it's very interesting. So for a good part of your life as an artist, you are making art just for yourself, and then you are destroying that, which is by destroying it, it's a statement in itself. Well,
Yeah.
why would you do that? Maybe because you are not um, interested in keeping things for the future. You just look at the processing your emotions through the making of that art. But now it seems that to me that you are more concerned with your public role as an artist, because you do have I believe you have like a sense of mission now in relationship to your audience. You want to say something that maybe will produce a change, will invite a group of people to reflect through your critical eye on certain common issues,
Exactly.
and you find that this is more important now than in the past when you were more focused on your self identity or trying to understand who you are as a person. So you didn't really need the gaze of the other, but now, or the opinion of the other, or to share that work with the other. So you are in a very interesting position as an artist in Canada, I see.
Yeah, and this is exactly how you describe it. It went from uh, like a monologue and a kind of coping to a
That's right.
defiance.
Monologue. It's,
Yeah,
it's a good way of
yeah,
putting it.
and
That's how you started it. But now you are searching for a dialogue.
yeah, and now it's about a dialogue because just in order to amplify those things, to
Right.
get not to challenge the audience, to empower the audience to challenge certain notions.
So then, if the first monologue stage of your life as an artist implied or involved destruction of artworks, how about now in your second stage when you are in the dialogue stage? Do you think How do you think of the destruction of artworks now? Is it important to keep works alive, not destroy them and share them, or why not destroy them again, maybe with the audience together? Like you
Uh,
can think in this way too as a consequence of your approach to art making.
this again now for where I am, for the intention I have now, they need to be preserved because this is what echoes, and this is how I can relay what I want to say now. Because now I'm addressing like the speech to other people.
Okay, so what message you want to preserve in your work?
I wanted to tell the others that to point out certain things and to say that it's okay to defy specific notions. It's okay to speak out, and it's not just okay. You should speak out against things that do not make sense. Okay, because there's a lot. The world is ever changing, and there's a lot of things that become imposed, and people are born into them. So either we accept certain realities, or we seek out against them, or we can like be a catalyst in certain moments, in certain specific moments, or even draw parallels between. I come from a different place. I come from different background and scenarios, and there are things happening currently now that kind of mirror what I've experienced as a kid there, and I feel like I'm obliged to point out that those things will lead to n- negative outcomes because I've lived those. So I need to point these out when I see corruption. I need to point it out when I see things injustice. I need to point it out. So and I cannot do that to myself. I already know that.
Right. So I'm curious, can you describe a recent work or a project, especially the one that you are working right now in
Yeah.
your in the residency program?
Yeah. So one of the main projects that I'm working on now, it's called Reflections on Change. So I've always wanted to overlay more senses in how I showcase my art. So for sculpture, usually for visual work, it's sight, touch, but I wanted to include hearing also without actually overlaying an audio file over it. I want it to be invoked from within when someone is experiencing it. So that piece now, I've recorded specific words and specific inflections, sorry, and it's about, for example, change. The word change. The word change could, for some people, could mean a threat. For others, it could mean hope. The way you say it, the moment you say it, when you record it, you get a different waveform. So I took that waveform and took the silhouette of it as a confining silhouette for the artwork that I'm gonna create. And within it, I'm creating my own approach, my own understanding of change with figurative elements driving that momentum. For me, change is hope.
Mm-hmm. So at the formal level, at the material, you said you love working with clay.
Yes.
How does this help you to materialize your the sound of the words that you are working with?
Because words are important, and again, because they carry intention, and the intention changes depending on what you assign that word for. Clay allows me to have a long dialogue with that material. It's like a dancing partner. It's something that you need to understand.
Yeah, how do you feel about the relationship between practice and theory? Like how much theory drives your creativity, and how much do you use experimentation to discover new things?
This is an essential part. When I'm not finalizing a sculpture, or when I'm experimenting with whether it's material or exploring, if it, for example, for that specific theme, it was all about psychology, talking to people, to professionals, to people around, just try to understand what drives people to accept that thing, or what drives people to like pursue this thing. And anytime I have a moment, I'd be having either my sketchbook or a different kind of clay and trying to embody. I need to feel what that figure is feeling within that entrapment to convey it the most. So it's living those states over and over again, and experiment. It's all about experimentation.
What advice would you give to emerging artists coming to Ottawa School of Art?
Don't be afraid to state what your mind in your artworks, because eventually this is how you stand out. You don't want to fit in, you want to stand out. And make sure that throughout the years, the version of you that makes it, that gets to amplify what they're saying, is the same version of you that you want, and it's not some compromised version due to trends, algorithms, or commercial necessities.
Stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Gaby, for joining me today and sharing insights into your work and residency experience at the Ottawa School of Art. You have been listening to the OSA Fine Arts Diploma podcast. For more information about the Ottawa School of Art, our Artist in Residence program, and the Fine Arts Diploma program, please visit the OSA website. Thank you for listening.